If you watched the previous video that I posted last week, I showed you how you can make this global replacement, which I call a mirror box. So this thing. This time, we're showing you what it can do and the lessons I drawn from using this in the studio. And also we'll do it with a behind the scenes. Let's get into it. What's up guys, Yvens here, Montreal advertising and portrait photographer. So if you're watching this without having watched a previous video, not a problem. Just make sure you stick to the end and I will leave that video in the linked videos below. So without wasting any more time, here are the 10 lessons that I learned from using the mirror box, or as Sandro calls it, the Disco Global. First lesson, if you watched the previous video on how to make this mirror box, this will be super useful. Before committing to any final pattern, test it on your ceiling. Simply place the mirror flat on your table and flash a light on top of it. And if you like the results, well, awesome. But if you don't, simply wash and repeat. Second lesson, turn off all ambient lights. It's important to turn off all ambient lights and also turn the modeling light on your strobe. This is crucial to understand the size and the distance you will get from the reflection. Not doing that will be challenging for just no good reason. So do this before you do anything else in the studio. Third lesson, to make a custom pattern pop, you will need a lot of flash power. And unless you're shooting at 1.8 in the studio, don't be scared to crank out that 500 plus watt strobe. And also, pro tip, the closer the mirror is to your background or the subject, the easier it will be to light. Fourth lesson, the mirror box works better in a dark background. To use it as a pattern, the darker it gets, the better. This comes from the previous lesson and in lighting in general. To create contrast on white is much more difficult versus creating on black. And I struggled with this at first to understand it, and I was using a white background. And as soon as I switched up to something black, well, everything just clicked. Fifth lesson, you can use the mirror box as a framing object. Well, what does that mean? Well, you don't have to put any lights on the mirror box. You simply have to place your subject in front of the mirror and then light your subject, and there you go. It's a weird pattern, but you can really flex some creative muscles here. I barely scratched the surface myself. Like, here's a few examples that I did in the studio. Hell, some people even might call it art. Sixth lesson, you can use two lights. Yeah, you heard that right. You can cross two lights, or actually more, and duplicate your pattern to how many times you want to. The number of lights you will own will be the limitations on how many times you can duplicate that exact pattern. Seventh lesson, you can actually use gels. Yep, you can use gels to make your background even more interesting. So make sure you have multiple layers of gels, something like a flash gel or a foldable paper one, the classic ones. I left some in the description below so you can check it out, and you should be good. Pro tip, underexpose the color a little to make the colors even more saturated, because the higher the actual exposure is, the less saturated they become. Eighth lesson, combining basically the lesson number 6 and number 7. You can actually use two sets of different color gels. Yeah, it's entirely possible, and I just did it and I'm showing it right now. It's possible through the principle of light refraction, as when the light combined with color hits the glass at an angle and the wavelengths are separated. Since color is not exactly the same speed, let's say red and blue are not traveling to the same speed. So it's actually pretty interesting. So you can mix all kinds of colors and go crazy. Yay science. Ninth lesson, if you are planning to use the mirror box on your set, do remember to make sure no other light is spilling on the actual mirror box or on your background, or you'll have much more difficulty getting that thing to be very crisp. And this is where grids are becoming useful here, so do make sure you take them out if ever you own some and you light something with this. 10th lesson, and the final one. Well, have fun and explore. Due to the low cost entry of the mirror box, it's like a whole $20, you can always test and repeat to have the desired results. Hell, you can even make a custom pattern for your own projects. The sky's really the limit here, and do make sure to test often. I have my second pack already, and I'm about to craft something really neat, and I'm going to show it to you in the next few weeks, whenever it's going to come out. So that is it for this behind the scenes and also the lessons that I learned from using the mirror box. I hope this was useful to you on your creative journey, and if it did help you, please remember to give this old video a good old thumbs up, and remember to subscribe if you haven't done so. This has been Yvens, Montreal advertising and portrait photographer, and again, together, remember, let's light the world. Cheers.